In this video, we will learn how to build an online store with Flutter and AppWrite. Our online store will help users to connect with their favorite local shops and small businesses. Users can search for stores, find store products, know if a product is available, store timings, location, and distance. Additionally, by subscribing to their favorite local stores, users may opt for personalized notifications about stocks, exclusive offers, and special discounts. For sellers, the app would provide an intuitive way to create and manage store details, showcase their products, and manage their inventory effectively. The application would be having two routes, one for the sellers and one for the consumer. Depending on the type of the account, we will navigate the user to the respective sections. If the user has a consumer account, we will take them to the consumer dashboard where the user can find their nearby stores, search for a particular store, subscribe to their favorite stores, receive notifications and alerts, and can manage their user profile. If a user has a seller account, we will take them to the seller dashboard where a store owner can open closed stores, manage store details, send notification to their subscribers, and edit the seller profile. You can find the complete source code and a detailed blog post in the description. Now, let's jump straight into building the application. Make sure you have installed the Flutter SDK. If you haven't, you can refer one of my previous videos. I'll link that in the description. We will use AppWrite Cloud. So let's go to cloud.appwrite.io. And here I have the sign-in page. If you don't have an account, you can create a new account from the sign-up page. I already have an account, so I'll just log in. Once you log in, you can see all of your projects here. You can create a new project by clicking on this button. I'll use an existing project, so I'll just open this project. And here you can add your app as a platform to use this AppWrite project. So click on this button, and I want to add a Flutter app. I need to pass the app name here and the package name to add the app. As you can see, I have already added my Flutter app here. For this video, I'll be using Android Studio as my IDE. You can use any IDE of your choice. Make sure that you have installed the Dart and the Flutter plugin in your IDE. These are the only requirements to follow this tutorial. Now let's create a new Flutter project. In order to do that, open Android Studio. And here you can see I have a new Flutter project button. If you have installed the Flutter plugin from Android Studio, you will see this button here. Click on this button. I need to provide my SDK path here. Next. Give it a name. Package name is your domain name in reverse. And in platforms, I want to build an Android app, so I'm unchecking iOS and Windows from here. Click on Finish, and this will create your Flutter project. Once the project is ready, let's try running this app on an emulator to make sure that everything is working as expected. So I'll just try running the app on my emulator. Now, as you can see, the app is running on my emulator and the counter app that is generated by default is working perfectly. Now we can start coding our own application. So first, let's create different files in our lib directory so that we can split our code into different sections so that it's easy to maintain in the future, and if we encounter a bug, so that we may look into a specific section of the code to fix it. So in the main.dart file, I have my main function here, which is the starting point of the application. First, we want to initialize our AppWrite client. Let's go to the AppWrite doc real quick. So here we have the documentation on how to use AppWrite with our Flutter project. First, I need to add this activity in my Android manifest file to capture the AppWrite auth callback URL. So I'll copy this activity. I'll go to my Android manifest file. In the Android folder, open app, src, main. After this, we need to add the AppWrite dependency. So let's go to pubspec.yml file. And here you can see all of the packages I'll be using in this project. So after adding them in the dependency, let's go to the project root location and hit this command flutter pubget to get all of these dependencies. Now we can initialize our AppWrite client and proceed further. So let's go back to the main.dart file. Here I have initialized my AppWrite client, and as you can see, it is outside of this main function. The client can be accessed globally anywhere in the application. So here I am initializing my AppWrite client with my API endpoint and project ID. In the credentials file, I have my API endpoint and the project ID. So inside the utils folder, I have a credentials file where I have set my project credentials so that I don't have to write them all the time. I can just use them from this class. And then I'm setting the status bar color to transparent so that it goes well with the design. Then I am running my material app, my app. So here I have my material app, my app, and I'm passing the app theme and the home screen. So I have my app theme inside this theme folder, app theme.dart file. I have defined my app theme, and here I have the colors in the colors.dart file. And in this launch screen folder, I have my splash screen, which you can see is just a screen with some text and a circular progress indicator. In the splash screen page, I have an init function where I'm calling a future delayed method for 3 seconds so that it's showing the circular progress indicator for 3 seconds. And then I'm calling this get user status method to know if a user is logged in. And if a user is logged in, we will route them to the consumer dashboard or the seller dashboard according to the user account. And if a user is not logged in, we'll route them to the login page. So inside this auth folder, I have my login screen, where I want these two fields from the user, the email and the password. And then I have an elevated button. Clicking on this button will try to log me in with these credentials. So I have a login email password function in my APIs file that will take the credentials and log me in and will return a value. If the value is true, I'll show a snack bar saying logged in. And then we will check for the account type. If the account type is not set yet, then we will take the user to the choose account type page. If the account type is consumer, we will take the user to the consumer home screen. And if the account type is seller, we will take the user to the seller home page. If we catch any error, we will show that error in the snack bar. If the user doesn't have an account, the user can navigate to the sign up page. I have my sign up screen.dart file here. And here I want these three fields from the user, the name, the email, and the password. And then similarly, I have an elevated button, clicking on which I'm calling this function sign up email password from my APIs file. And using these credentials, I want to create a new user. And after a user is created, I'm returning a boolean. If it is true, I'll show a snack bar, new account created, and then route the user to the choose account type page where the user can choose the account type, if it is a seller account or a consumer account. If I catch an error in between, I can show that in the snack bar. And if the user wants to log in, I can take the user back to the login page. Now let's go to the apis.dart file in the APIs folder. Here you can see that I have written all the functions that I'll be using in the application. I'm using the AppWrites SDK and the various AppWrites APIs to perform specific tasks according to the requirement of my application. So let's dive into the various APIs and functions that we'll be using in this application. So first, I'm creating an instance of my APIs class. Then I'm setting it to shared preference. Then using my AppWrite client, I'm initializing my account, database, and storage of AppWrite. And I have a UUID method here that generates unique IDs. Then I have a getUserID function that gives us the user ID of the current logged in user. If no user is logged in, the user ID should be null. We are using shared preference to store the user ID. Then I have the isLoggedIn function, which is also using shared preference to set the logged in value. If a user is logged in, isLoggedIn boolean is true, and if a user is not logged in, it will be false. Then I have a setLoggedIn function to toggle the isLoggedIn boolean, and using set preference, I can set the isLoggedIn boolean value. Then I have the login email password function, which we are using in the login page to log in our user using the email ID and the password. So this function takes email ID and password from the user as parameters, and then we are calling our shared preference. Then we are using the create email session method, and we are passing the email and password field to create a new email session. And if everything goes well, we are setting the user ID, email, and password using the shared preference. And we are also setting the logged in value to true. If we catch any error, then we want to rethrow. And using this value, we can show in the login page if a login is successful. Then we have the sign up email password function, which is a future type function with return type of boolean. We want to first call the shared preference, and then we are using this account.create method to create a new account. We are passing the user ID, email, password, name from the user. And after the account is created, we want to create an email session. So we are passing the email and password of the user and creating a new session. And then we want to set the user ID, email, and password of the user, and also set the logged in value to true using shared preference. And finally, when an account is successfully created, we want to return true so that we can show a snack bar in the sign up page that the account creation is successful. If we catch any error in between, we want to rethrow. And then we have the logout function to log out the current user. First, we want to call our shared preference. Then we want to set the logged in value to false. And using the shared preference, we want to remove the values of user ID, email, and password, which we have set while logging in a user. Those were all the functions you will need to authenticate your users Now let's go to the choose account.dart file where a user can choose the account type, whether it is a seller account or a consumer account. So in this page, basically I have two elevated buttons in which the user account type can be set if it is a consumer account or a seller type account. So I'm using this create user function from my APIs class, which I have in the apis.dart file, and I'm setting the account type according to the button pressed and creating a new user in the users collection. This is the create user function. As you can see, I'm using this my user model to set all the values, and then I'm setting this data to my users collection in the database. Then according to the account type selected by the user, I'm navigating to the home page of the consumer if the account type is consumer. If the account type is seller, then I'll navigate to the seller home page. So in the consumer screen, I have the home page for my consumers, and in the seller screen folder, I have home page for my sellers. First, let's have a look on the consumer homepage. I have basically a scaffold and then a bottom navigation bar to navigate through the different sections of the app. So I have a near you menu which will show you the nearby stores near your location. Then I have a subscribe page where you can find all your subscribed stores. Then in the alerts page, I have all the notifications listed. And then we have the profile section to manage the user profile. So according to the navbar selection, we want to show one of these pages according to the selected index. So first, let's have a look at the near you page. So inside this consumer screens folder, I have my near you page.dart file. First, I have initialized my database with my AppWrite client. Then I have the search query string. This is something that I'll use for the search feature later when the user tries to find a particular store. Then I have the lat long and the current address string where I store the user's latitude, longitude and current selected address. Then I have the user model. Then I have my current user model. You can see that inside this models folder, I have my user model.dart file where I have the entire user model. Then here I have my database ID and the collection ID. And as we want to store data in real time, we also have a real-time subscription for the stored data. And we also want to receive notifications. So in order to listen to notifications in real time, we will also require a notification subscription. And here we have the notification collection ID. So in this page, I have a app bar, and at the bottom, I have a text input field for searching stores. And then under actions, I have a gesture detector, which we are using to pick the location of the user. And then I have a container for the decoration of the location picker. Now finally, in the scaffold body, if the text query is empty, that is, if the user is not searching for any particular store, we'll show all the stores which are nearby to the user using this My Carts widget. It will take data from this items list, and for the current index, I'm storing the data in this current object variable. And also for calculating the distance between the store and the user, I'm using this calculate distance function from distance calculator class. So in the helpers folder, I have a distance calculator class that is basically calculating the distance between the two coordinates. And if I don't have any data in the items list, I'll show that I don't have any stores to show. Then if the query is not empty, that means that the user is searching for a particular store. In that case, I'm using a future builder to show the stores using the query.search method. I'm basically performing a full text search on this name attribute using the text query that the user passes. And when I'm getting the list of document that is matching the result, I'm storing it inside this results shop list, which is a list of shop models. And then I'm using that data and I'm returning the stores with the help of this My Cart widget as we did it earlier. And if I don't find any search result according to the query, I want to show this can't find any relevant result message. Now let's have a look at the real-time subscription function. So first we want to load the data using this load item function. So here we want to fetch all the documents that we have in the stores collection, and we are also passing some query that if the country is equals to the current user country, and if the pin code is same as the current user's pin code, and if the shop is open, then only we want to load the store, because that is the nearest available store for the user and we want to have it in our list. So here we are setting the value of this items list with the data that we have in the current docs, and we are converting it to a list. And if anything goes wrong while fetching the stored data, we want to show this error message. Then we have the subscribe function where we want to subscribe to some real-time event. So first I'm initializing real-time with my AppWrite client. Then I want to subscribe to events of this particular path. Then if there is some change and the payload is not empty, I'm checking if the document is created, and if a document is created, I want to add it to my list. If a document is deleted, I want to remove it from my list. And if a document is updated, I want to update that data in my list. So by using this strategy, whenever a document is manipulated in a collection, we can listen to those changes and update our data accordingly so that we can have a real-time data. Then I have a dispose function where I want to dispose the event listeners. This is how this items list has all the data of the stores that are nearby in real time, and using the data that we have in the list, we can show all the stores that are nearby user in real time. Similarly, in the notif function, first we are getting the user ID, then with our AppWrite client, we are initializing the real time, and then we are subscribing to this path. And if there is any change, we want to pop up the notifications accordingly. And if a new notification is created and the target client ID contains my user ID, then I want to show that notification. Now let's have a look at the subscribe page. So inside this consumer screen folder, I have my subscribed page here. So this page has a scaffold, and inside the scaffold, I have an app bar with some text, and in the body, I just have a future builder. And as the future parameter, I'm calling this get subscribed stores function from my APIs class. So let's have a look at this get subscribed store function. This is a future type function that returns a list of shop models. So first, using this get user function, I'm getting the current user, and inside shops, I have the current user's following list, which contains IDs of all the shops that the user follows. And then I am iterating through all of these shop IDs, and I'm returning the shop data inside this my shop model. And finally, I'm adding this data to the my stores list, and I'm returning the my store here. And after we get the list of subscribed stores, we want to display them in our page. So we have a builder method here. So if the connection state is done and we don't have any error and the snapshot has some data, then we want to show our stores using this custom card, my subscription card. If we catch any error, we want to show it inside this text widget. And if the connection state is not done yet, then we want to show this circular progress indicator. Next, we have the notification page to show all our alerts. So inside this consumer screen folder, again, we have the notification page.dart file. In the notification page, first we have a scaffold. Inside the scaffold, we have an app bar with some text. And then in the body, again, we have a future builder widget. In the future parameter, we are passing this get user notification function from our APIs class. Get user notification function is a future type function which returns the list of notification model. Similar to the previous function, first we want to get the user data using this get user method, and then we want to store all the notification IDs inside this notifs list, and then we are iterating through the IDs and getting the notification data. And finally, we want to add the notification data to our user notifications list, and we are returning this list here. And if we catch any error, we will return an empty list. So after the connection state is done, and if we don't get any error and the notification list data has some value, then we want to display all the notifications using this list view builder widget and the notification data using this customer notification card widget. So I have all my custom widgets that I am using in the app here inside the widgets folder. And if I open this customer notif card widget, then as you can see, I have my custom widget here. And if the notification list is empty, we want to show this no notifications to show text widget. And if we catch an error, we want to show this inside this text widget. And if the connection state is not done yet, then we want to show this circular progress indicator. And in the final section, we have the profile page. So in the profile page, we have a name controller that is a text editing controller. And then we are initializing our AppWrite database with our AppWrite client. And we are calling our database ID and collection ID that we will be using later. And then we are also initializing our AppWrite storage with the AppWrite client. Then in the profile page, first we are returning a scaffold and then an app bar with some text. And in the profile page, we want to have the logout button. So we have an icon button here, pressing on which it will call the logout function from the APIs class, and that will log out the user. And after the user is logged out, we'll show this snack bar with the text logged out. And in the body, first we are wrapping everything inside this single child scroll view widget that has a bouncing scroll physics, which will provide a smooth animation if the user reaches the end of the pages. And inside the children of the column widget, I first have a future builder, and inside this future parameter, we are passing the get user method from the APIs class. Now let's have a look at the get user method. Now it's a future type function that returns a my user model. First, we are calling this get user ID function. And after we get the user ID from our database, we are calling this document that has the same document ID as our logged in user's ID. And then finally, we are returning this current user. So after the connection state is done and we don't catch any error, we want to show the user data using this user card widget. And also here we are initializing our name controller with a text editing controller with the initial text of the current user name. And then we have a text widget saying edit profile with some fancy decoration, below which we are showing the current logged in user's email. And then we have a text field input widget where a user can change the logged in user's name. And under photo, if the photo URL is not null, then we want to show the current logged in user photo. Below that, we have an elevated button saying upload image, where a user can upload an image. In order to do this, I'm using the file picker package. First, I'm getting the path of the selected image. First, I want to get the path of the selected image and also the file name. And then using this create file method from the storage API, inside our photo storage bucket, we are adding the image file. And after the image is uploaded, we want to show a dialog saying saving photos. And after that, we want to update our user info with the new photo. And if we catch any error in between, we want to show that error in a snack bar. And if the user cancels the process in between, we want to show this dialog. After that, finally, we have a save changes button, which is basically setting the current user's name with the new name and the current user photo with the new photo URL. And when the button is pressed, it is calling this update user info and passing the current user model to update the user information. And as we have used a future builder, if the connection state is not done, then we want to show this circular progress indicator. Now let's have a look at the project database, storage bucket, and the various model classes we are going to use in this application. So in the databases tab, I have my localese DB database. And in the collections, I have a shops collection to store all the shop details, a users collection to store all the user data, and a notifications collection to store all the notifications sent by the shops. Inside shops collection, I have the following attributes: the name of the shop, about section, is open value, store items, out of stock items, country, pin code, district, phone number, email, opening time, closing time, owner ID, subscribers, latitude, longitude, address, and photo of the shop. You can see all of the attributes type here, and to create a new attribute, we need to click on this button, and by giving it a name and selecting the attribute type, we can create a new attribute. And as we are also using some query filters, we want to also create some index. So here we have all of our store index. Here you can give your index a name, an index type, and select the attribute and select the order of the index that you want to create. And then to create it, you just need to click on this create button. Similarly, in the users collection, I want to store the user data. Inside the attributes of the user collection, I have the following attributes: the user's name, the following shop list, notifications list, email, type, ID, country, pin code, district, latitude, longitude, photo, and address of the user. Now finally, in the notifications collection, we have all our notifications data. So inside the notification attributes, we have a notification ID, the notification title, description, photo of the notification, the subscribed users list to whom we want to send the notification, and the shop ID that is sending the notification. So we are also using some queries here to fetch data from the notifications collection. So inside the indexes, we have all our indexes for specific queries. To store the images that we are using in this application, we are using the storage bucket, and inside our storage bucket, I have a photos bucket where we are storing all the image files. Now inside the models folder, I have the user model.dat file, which has my myUserModel class, which basically helps me to convert the JSON data that I am getting from the database to the myUserModel object, and converts a myUserModel object to JSON data when I want to set the data to the database. Similarly, inside this shopModel.dat file, I have my shopModel class that helps me to fetch data from my shops collection, and when I want to set the data back to my shops collection, I can use this toJSON method. And in this notification model.dat file, I have my notification model class, which I want to use to convert my JSON data that I am getting from the notifications collection. And when I want to set the data back to my notification collection, I can use this toJSON method. Now let's go to the seller homepage. So inside this seller screens folder, I have a homepage.dat file, which is the seller homepage. Just like the consumer homepage, I have a scaffold and a bottom navigation bar where I have these three bottom navigation bar menus, clicking on which I'll show one of these pages based on the selected index. The store listing page is to manage the store details and information. The inside page is to view the current store subscribers, and also from here you can send store notifications to the subscribers, and in the seller account page we can manage the seller's account. Now first let's have a look at the store listing page. So inside this seller screens folder, I have a your store page.dat file, Inside this page, first I have defined a isOpen boolean to control the isOpen value. If a store is open, then the isOpen boolean is true, and if a store is closed, it will be false. Then I have a few text editing controllers, like I have a store name controller to manage my store name. Then I have an email controller to manage the store's email. Then I have a phone controller using which I can manage the store phone number. I also have a about controller and a add item controller to add the about section and store items respectively. We will use this photo URL string to get our photo URL from the storage bucket. Then we have a opens and closes string to store the opening and closing time. And we have a store items list and an out of stock list where we can store the store items and the items that are out of stock respectively. I also want to store my current shop data inside this my current shop object, and its type is shop model, which I have in my models folder. Then I'm also initializing the UUID to get unique IDs, and then I'm also initializing my storage with my AppWrite client. In the init state function, I'm calling this getShop function, which is going to store my current logged in shop data to the respective fields. Using this getStore method from the APIs class, I'm setting the current logged in store data inside this my current shop model. So let's have a look at this getStore function. This is a future type function that returns a shop model data. So first I'm getting my current user ID, and from the shops collection, I'm fetching the document that has the same ID as my current logged in user ID. And after I get the data, I want to set it in my shop model object, and finally I want to return the my shop model object. Then if the data value is null, I don't want to initialize anything else. If I get the current shop data, then I want to initialize all my fields with my current logged in store data. And finally, after initializing all the fields, I'm calling this setState method. Inside the build method of this page, I'm first returning a scaffold, and in the app bar, if the isOpen value is null, that means we are unable to find the stored data, and in that case, the store is not registered yet. Therefore, we want to show this app bar with the title of Open Your Store Now. And if the isOpen value is anything except null, then the stored data is already present. Then we want to show this Manage Store app bar. At the bottom of the app bar, I can switch between two elevated buttons, which are the Shop Open and Shop Close buttons. When I press the open button, if the isOpen value is already true, we don't want to do anything, and if it is false, then we want to show a dialog saying Opening Store Now, which has a button that is setting the isOpen value to true. And when this button is pressed, we want to update our my current shop value, and using the update store info function from our APIs class, we are setting the current logged in shop details with the new details. Similarly, if I click on the closed button, if the isOpen value is false, I want to show this dialog box saying closing store for today, and then inside it, I have a button where I'm setting the isOpen value to false. Then I'm updating my current shop object, and using this update store info function from our APIs class, I'm updating the current store details. Also, when a store is being closed or open, I want to show my subscribers a notification. So I'm using this create notification function from my APIs class, and I'm passing this notification object so that it will send the notifications. And I'm passing this notification object where the title is saying closing now, has a description, and I want to send this notification to my subscriber. Alternatively, if I'm opening the store, then the notification model will be something like this: the store name saying opening now, and then the description. And similarly, here also using the create notification function from our APIs file, we are sending this notification. Finally, in the app body, I have some padding for styling, and then I want to wrap everything inside the single child scroll view widget. I have a column widget where I can basically select first the store location, and in order to pick geolocations, I'm using this widget, OpenStreetMap Search and Pick. Then I want to show the selected address inside this container with some styling. Then I have a text field input for my store name, a text field input for the about section, and under this photo section, if the photo URL is not null, using this image.network widget, I want to display the photo. If the URL is null, then I want to show this text widget saying photo not selected yet. Then I have an elevated button to set the store image. For picking a photo, I want to use the file picker package, and if the extension type is JPG, PNG or GIF, then I can select a file of that format. Here I'm storing the file path and the file name. And then using this create file method inside my photo storage bucket, I want to add this image file. For creating a unique ID, I'm using this v1 method from the UUID package. And when the picture is uploaded, I want to show this snack bar that picture is successfully updated. And if we catch any error in between, we want to also show this error message inside a snack bar. Then we want to show this snack bar saying unable to upload as cancelled in between. Then I have a text input field for phone number and a text input field for email. And using this text widget, I want to show the store opening time and the closing time. Then I have two date time pickers to set the opening and closing time of the store. Then finally, I have the store items section where a shop owner can manage the store items. First, I have a text field input which takes the name of the store item, and clicking on the add button, I want to add it to my store items list and call this set state method to set the state of the application. And using this list view widget, I want to show all of my store items inside this container. I have some decoration going on here, and in this container, I have two buttons, a out of stock button and a delete button. In the out of stock section, I have basically two of these buttons. Pressing on one button removes the item from the out stock list, and pressing on the other button adds the item to the out stock list. Pressing on the delete button removes the item from the store items list. And after we do this operation, we want to set the state of our application. And finally, here we have our save button, where we are setting all the values of the current shop with the selected values by the user. And using this update shop info functions from our APIs class, we are able to update the shop values. And in the case where we are not able to find the shop data, that means the shop doesn't exist yet. So we want to set all of our initial values. And finally, we want to call this create shop function instead of the update shop info function from our APIs class. And we want to set the value with the new shop value. In the insights page that I have in the seller screens folder inside this insightspage.art file, in the build function, I'm returning the scaffold, which has an app bar with some text. And in the body, I have some horizontal padding. And then inside the children's of this column widget, I have a future builder widget where I want to show all the notifications that are sent by this store. So in the future parameter, I'm passing this get shop notifications function from my APIs file. And if we see this function, this is a future type function that is returning a list of notifications model that will be having our notification data. First, we are trying to get the user ID. And after we get the user ID from the notifications collection, we want to get all the documents that are satisfying this query. That is, if the shop ID attribute is equals to the user ID, and we want to fetch the list in the descending order by the created time. Now we want to convert our data into a list of notification model, and finally we want to return the list of notification models. In Builder, if the connection state is done and we don't get any error, then we want to show all the notifications using this list view builder widget, and using this notification card widget, we are showing the notification data. If the list is empty, we want to show this text saying no notifications to show. And if the connection state is not done, then we want to show this circular progress indicator. Below the notification view, we want to have our add notification button. So using this button, one can send notification to the subscribed users. Clicking on this button, first we are showing this alert dialog box that has a text input field to enter the notification title, the notification description, and the photo link of the notification. And below this form, we have two text buttons, one for discard and one for sending the notification. Clicking on the discard button just pops the alert dialog box, and clicking on this send notification button, first we want to initialize our notification object, and then using this create notification function from our APIs file, we want to set the notification to the subscribed users. Then below the send notification button, we want to show all the subscribed users of our store to the shop owner. For that, we have a future builder widget, and in this future parameter, we are using this get subscribed users function from our APIs file. Let's have a look at this function. Get subscribed users function is a future type function that returns a list of user model. So first we are using this get store function to get the current store, and here we have the list of subscribed users ID, and then we are iterating through the entire list, and from the users collection we are getting the user data of those IDs. And finally we are adding the user data to the my users list, and we are returning the my users list. So now inside this builder, if the connection state is done and we don't get any error, and if the list has some data and is not empty, we want to show all the subscribed user using this list view builder widget. And we are using this subscribed user view card widget to show the subscribed user data. And if the data list is empty, we want to show this text widget saying waiting for users to join. And if the connection state is not done yet, we want to return a circular progress indicator. The seller account page is very similar to the consumer account page. In the build function, we are returning a scaffold which has an app bar with some text widget as the title. And in the actions list, I have an icon button for logout. Clicking on this button, I'm calling the logout function from my APIs class, and then I want to show a snack bar saying logout and route the screen to the login page. And in the body, I have a single child scroll view. Inside this, first I'm using this future builder widget to get the current logged in user data, and after I get the data, I'm setting the name controller and the photo URL with the current logged in user's name and photo URL. And then under this edit profile section, I want to first show the current logged in email ID and then the store name. And then I have a text field input for my shop owner's name. And then under this photo section, first, if the photo URL is not null, I want to show the photo using the image.network widget. Below this, I have an elevated button to upload my picture to the photo storage bucket. And then I'm setting the URL of the uploaded photo in the current user object. And finally, I want to update the user info with the current user object value. Then I have the Save Changes button where I'm setting the current user name with the name that is in the text controller and the current user photo with the new photo URL. And I'm calling this update user info function from my APIs class and passing my current user object to set the user object to set the new data. And if the connection state is not done, we want to show the circular progress indicator.